this is Joe Rebelo with Martial Arts Today Television. We're here with a very special guest and a person who I first met online through the internet, and later would actually meet him in person at the Action Martial Arts Mega Weekend. A very prolific martial arts instructor in numerous Southern Chinese martial arts and a very diversified martial arts background. We're very proud and honored to have Dale Dugas. Dale.
It's an honor to be here, Joe. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. You know, again, I had first met you through the martial arts message boards online and whatnot, and then got to know you a little bit better over the years. So when the opportunity presented itself to have you on our show, we definitely jumped on it. So again, the first question I ask all my interviewees is,
yes,
how did you begin in the martial arts?
Well, like most people, you know, we were younger. You know, I was a teenager. I wasn't that athletically inclined. I was a shy little bookworm. So Dad sat me down. Dad was a grappler, a wrestler, you know, judo guy. He's like, kid, you can't be like this. You got to get up, move, or die. And this has stuck with me for years. Get up, move, or die. So I got into an Okinawan karate school. I took to it like a duck to water. You know, I saw people in those white pajamas, and I wanted to do the white pajama flying kicks.
Now, we were talking earlier, now the first system you learned, and because of the flying kicks kind of threw me, was Wei Chi Ru, which is a style definitely not known for its flying side kicks, nothing personal. But
not at all. That was something, the teacher wasn't there and the kids were having fun, so yeah, that I learned that's not what we actually do.
So tell me about your training in Wei Chi.
Well, it was interesting because, you know, it's a very traditional Okinawan system, so from day one we're learning a structure, we're learning how to, you know, very specific footwork, and we're starting to learn conditioning from day one. So we were slapping each other silly from the first class, and, you know, we're very famous. Wei Chi is famous in the Okinawan martial art world, knowing for their body conditioning. And so we made it a game. It was like tag, except you got to hit a little harder.
For those of our viewers not familiar with Wei Chi Ru, again, one of the prevalent Okinawan systems, if you took an element, it would be an earth style, like a mountain, again, and a real solid foundation also in Southern Chinese influenced martial arts, very much known for the hourglass stance, body conditioning, the classic phrase, I'd rather do Sanchin, the three battles form, which is their foundation for their art. So, now, did you get your black belt in Wei Chi, or how?
I did. I trained in it for a number of years as a young man, and I made my first degree black belt in, it was 1984. So I was a black belt coming into high school. You know, I was 16. I was young. I was one of those kids that was like younger as we got into high school. You know, I wasn't, you know, when I graduated high school, I was like, you know, barely 18. So I was like that young, you know, where you're born and where you're placed in school is like, I was on that, I was always the younger, not the older.
Oh, excellent. Now, again, you know, I obviously know you through other martial arts. How did you start getting involved in other martial arts from Wei Chi, and what were the arts?
Well, it was funny because my instructors had all been exposed to different Chinese systems because we were south of Boston. So, of course, you know, the mecca for us was Boston Chinatown and all the different teachers, you know, the different Kung Fu systems, the other different karate systems, you know, grappling systems, you name it. So knowing that my teachers had studied Hung Gar with certain teachers, I approached those same teachers and said, I'd like to learn what you're offering. You know, teach me what I need to learn. And that was always a great phrase. I learned that from somebody. You should always ask a Chinese teacher, teach me what I need to learn, not show me, or, you know, say, hey, I have rank in another system. How about you show me your stuff? That doesn't usually fly in a traditional Chinese school. So teach me what I need to learn. And that always opened a door, and it taught me, you know, that there's a lot of other stuff and other systems I need to know. You know, not one system has everything. So as a lot of us know, yourself included, we have gone and sought out different concepts from different systems that offered a concept we were looking for. So at the time, I wanted to, you know, explore Hung Gar and Hung Kun and that kind of connection to what I was doing in, you know, Okinawan martial arts.
Now, how long were you involved in the Hung Gar system?
Oh, for about a year and a half. You know, it was basically, you know, mid to late high school that I was training. You know, I was coming up from, you know, from the South Shore going to Chinatown and Boston. And, you know, was training on the Laogan set and all the footwork and all the drills and all the conditioning. And I loved it. You know, again, I always love martial art training. You know. Now,
from your Hung Gar training, where did you go from there?
Well, of course, Hung Gar, I started seeing people who did, you know, Charlie Foot and other systems, but never took to Charlie Foot very much. I've got friends who are very well versed in it. I love the system. I love watching it. But personally, when I started training it, it didn't talk to me. It didn't speak to me. For some reason, I like systems like Wei Chi and other Southern Chinese systems you see. five ancestor fist, wide eyebrow. The Haka Systems, where your elbows are in, and you're in a very specific structure that's very similar to what you see in the Okinawan martial arts.
Well, let's talk about that again. Because of your initial foundation in Wei Chi, you gravitated more toward the, and we're talking about Southern styles, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we mentioned about Hung Gar. Hung Gar is a much more open, meaning that their horse stance is wider. The traditional karate horse stance is really from styles like Hung Gar and whatnot. A Gar means family, by the way. So Hung Gar, the Hung family. Sometimes you'll hear Hung Quen, which is the Cantonese pronunciation of fist or form. People, if you do Kenpo, you know it is Ken from Okinawan. If you're in Japanese martial arts, Kem. If you do Mandarin, it's Chuan. But that term of fist. But the Hung Gar system is a much more open stance, open horse space stance, as opposed to Wei Chi, which comes from, again, we talked that whole Hakka Fujian area of China with systems like Wing Chun, which means beautiful springtime, Southern Mantis, Chugar Mantis, Chowgar Mantis, the Juklum or bamboo forest orientation of systems, also Bakmei, or you may know it as Pai Mei from everything from Kill Bill, which looks nothing like what the actual Bakmei system looks like, or Pak Mei or Pai Mei, but that whole orientation. Phoenix eye fist is another term that you'll hear of different styles. But that whole orientation, so that's what you tended to gravitate to.
Yes.
So how did you get involved in those particular Southern systems?
Well, of course, when you're learning from your instructors, they're giving you, a good, knowledgeable instructor is going to give you history. He's going to give you not just all the material, the physical material, but hey, where does this come from? Oh, it comes from here. Well, where does it come from originally? Well, that's a good question. And then, of course, we're learning the lineage back from China, coming through Okinawa, through certain teachers, passing it down to our instructors. So, it's basically you're tracing the history, and not just history, but the placement of specific instructors. Oh, this one was in southeastern China, then to Okinawa. And then, of course, George Mattson is very well known for bringing the Wei Chi system here to Massachusetts.
Exactly.
He studied it in Okinawa during his military. He was spent military time in Okinawa, so he trained under these teachers. And again, so it's basically, when you're looking at it, it's basically just going back in your genealogy, your martial art genealogy. Mm-hmm. But looking back, and then, hey, this is from China, that always would give me some kind of, it always was a question in the back of my mind is, what else is there from China? So, of course, we start looking, you start researching, and we've got friends in different systems, and so you go talk to them, and then you go to their school and you watch what they do and how they apply it. And then you go to other schools and you see how they move and then how they apply it. And then you start going, I like that. And so, and you're going to gravitate towards what you like. Now, not everybody is attracted to every system. Most of the time it talks to you, it speaks to you. It says, I like how that moves, I like how that holds itself, I like how they apply, I like the mentality of that, the concept of how they apply their martial art. Because not every martial art is, applies the same. We know this. Certain systems like to kick more, other systems like to grab more, et cetera, et cetera. We can talk about the concept, but I wanted to see, well, what was the Chinese, what systems are Chinese kicking? Oh, those are northern systems. Okay, go see Northern Shaolin and you see them do their kicks. I liked it, it was pretty, but it didn't talk to me.
Right.
But Wing Chun, the white eyebrow, other systems that are not very pretty compared to these other systems, for whatever reason, I like those systems. They're ugly, but practical.
Well, excuse me, I've never referred to them as ugly systems, but so who started you? Also, who started you in that orientation? Who was the person that started you on your path regarding those particular orientations of Chinese martial arts?
Well, it was just people. Friends were studying different systems, so I had friends in Walloon. And then Walloon used to bring in different instructors into their schools to show their students the connection to other systems. Wuda, and hey, all martial arts are one. And I saw a Wing Chun teacher. They brought in, one of Moyat's, disciples. And so they were showing, Moyat kind of Wing Chun. So Wing Chun, oh, wait a minute, hey, I want to go look. So I approached Stanley Jue, Ping Sung Wing Chun, and other different people. I'm friends with Jim Rosalando, who does the Gu Lao side, So we've got a couple of different systems of Wing Chun here in Boston. We have the normal, what they call Yip Man. And then they have something that's a little different, that's Gulo Wing Chun, or Ping Sun Wing Chun, the side body. It's a little different in orientation. But of course it's Wing Chun. It is similar. You see the certain concepts, but it's applied a little differently. You know, same as Hungar. Hungar, open, much more swinging. You know, then you go to Chale Foot, they have similar, but then if you go to, say, the White Crane version, you know, you see them a little tighter sometimes. So it's funny how you see different structures, open, tighter, shorter, longer. Some people are fencing, some people are doing very tight, short movements. So being exposed to different teachers from other systems, it was basically myself just being curious, you know.
Now, in regards to that, again, you relocated from the Massachusetts area out to the Midwest, and that opened other doors for you. Tell us about those experiences.
Well, I went to school in southeastern Indiana, so I went to school at a place called Earlham College, and I got a degree. I've got my bachelor's in Japanese studies.
Oh.
So I studied, you know, Japanese history, Japanese art, not just Japanese language, you know, politics. You know, we took Asian anthropology classes. And all my Japanese teachers were Japanese natives. So when I learned Japanese, I learned it, you know, not from a Caucasian, but I learned it from an actual native-born speaker. So I was lucky. I've always been lucky. I have always been my teacher's student, and I've always been well taught by my teachers. And I've learned as much as I could from my teachers. You know, I think a good teacher knows that you have to be a professional student. You have to learn how to learn. And how do you learn? Some people are visual, some people are oral, some people are a mixture of both. Some people need to take notes, some people need to take photos, some people need to take a video. Now, back when we were younger, we didn't have this technology, and it was very expensive to bring in film crews and cameras, so we, you know, a lot of us, we wrote notes. You know, but now, hell, we can make movies, you know, on our phones. We can make, you know, documentaries on your iPhone, on your iPad. So the technology has actually given us the impetus to record all this information. There's no longer a need to let things go to the grave. We can record the masters, we can record a Weber. So I'm thinking about starting a, you know, a nonprofit to save as much of this material from the systems I like. I like the Haka material. So I'm thinking about, you know, let's create a foundation, and then let's start preserving as much information as we can before we lose it all.
Amen. And, you know, I'm a firm believer in that. And for our audience, Hakka is a particular region of China. Hakka, Fujian, the entire southeastern, for lack of a better term, area of coastal China. And that has a whole orientation of their unique, innovative use of everything from the hourglass dance, which you'll see demonstrated, and some of the various aspects. And, you know, there's a whole orientation of that when we look at certain styles and we really cross-reference, and we talk back to Wei Chi, Bob Campbell. He put a whole section in the classic Yellow Book about showing Bakmei and Southern Mantis and some of the other systems. Now, you tend to gravitate, obviously, like I said, what you like in relationship to the Haka. Again, yeah, I know that you teach Southern Mantis.
Yes.
Well, some people call it Chalgar, some people call it Chugar, depending on the dialect.
There are different branches, you know, and basically we think of, there's three main branches. You have Iron Ox, you have Chugar, Chalgar, and then you have the Bamboo Forest Temple, which is the Juklum. The softest is the Bamboo Forest, so you will see lots more of circling, cutting of power. The Chu Chalgar is like the 50-50. It looks like high-level Goju-Ryu or Uechi-Ryu. And then the Iron Ox, traditionally, as they're transmitting it, is very forceful, very hard, almost like a, you know, just somebody who's really going to take their strength and exploit it as much as possible. But when you meet the Iron Ox practitioners in Hong Kong today who are still, you know, teaching, there's a few still. They don't promote that. It's actually, they're very soft as well. So it's funny how all of a sudden the branches are talking about the other branches, and that's actually not true. So it's funny to meet somebody who corrected me on what I had learned from everybody else.
Right. Well, again, the classic phrase, we're more alike than we are different.
That's
an important key in regards to that. Now, when I think of the Midwest and I think of that style of Mantis and Juklum, I think of Master Mark.
Yes.
Did you ever get to work with Jin from Mark?
I've never met Master Mark because he's up in Minnesota. That's way up in the north. I was in Indiana, but I had met other people who had trained with him. I've always approached the senior students in the system, because sometimes you can't approach the teachers without going through a ceremony, or because you're already a disciple of another person or associated with another teacher. Right. Politics or whatever you want to call it, you know.
Human nature and life.
People get very, very insular and very secretive, and they don't trust you when you're from another association or another teacher. So it did close some doors, but what it did open doors for me was learning from the senior students of these teachers. So we'd get together and we'd exchange. Hey, you do something I want. I'll show you if you show me yours. Yeah, okay. And so we bartered basically with our information. And of course we do this privately. Why? Because we don't want to upset teachers. And look, we just want to train. It's not about hoarding material over other people and, you know, pandering sashes and saying, look what I got. It's like, look, I want to train, you want to train. Let's exchange and learn from the experience.
And that's the key. The knowledge is the key, and the understanding of cross-referencing that material to one another and passing that knowledge along. Now, from your experience in the Midwest, you relocated down to Florida and are teaching down there. So tell us all about your studio in Florida and what you're doing with your Southern Systems. And
so what I do is I teach in the traditional way. I'm teaching out of my home. When you have a public school, by law, you have to teach whoever walks through the door. I've had some problems with certain unsavory individuals coming into my schools and, you know, seeking out instruction, and I don't want to do that. So rather than create a situation where everybody's getting upset, I'm teaching privately through my home, like what they did in the old days. There are a lot of people who forget there were no such things as martial arts schools a few hundred years ago. You were training in the village, at somebody's home or residence, or the village hall, the village, you know, association hall.
The Grange.
The Grange, basically,
right,
you know, and
exactly.
they call it the tong, you know, whatever tong meant hall. So you trained at this location. So I kind of, again, I'm harkening back to those old days where, you know what, it's small group instruction. I have 4 or 5 students. I have a lot of private students. And I'm teaching at my home, so I can teach who I want, what I want. There's much more control, and I don't have to worry about, again, what if somebody comes in and you don't really want to teach them for whatever reason? You know?
Again, it's having that classic phrase. There's a gentleman I went to his studio on, and a very large sign when he walked in the studio: "We reserve the right to refuse instruction to any individual."
Yep.
And it's a very important key because, again, even in today's modern society of MMA and everybody carries a gun, quote unquote, we still reserve the right that these arts are devastating. And
Yes.
you know, you can have your own opinion, but again, if you're practical, real self-defense, and again, and that's one of the important things I want to talk about: practical, real self-defense. In many elements of martial arts, people question different instructors. I'm very proud to say that I meet certain individuals who have a lot of on-the-job experience, like you. You've worked as a bodyguard, you've worked as a bouncer, you've had to make it work.
Yes.
On many occasions.
Yes.
Tell us about some of those experiences.
Well, I did a lot of work in nightclub security for years, because when you're a person of my size, you don't fit behind the bar in most nightclubs. That's made for little pretty people. So I'm not a little pretty person. I'm kind of this, you know, lumberjack looking kind of guy. Okay, this is my size, this is what I have to work with. I'm not going to worry about it. So, but working in nightclub security gave me a research ability that most other people don't have. I had people come at me for real. I had people really grab me, really punch me, really try to stick, you know, not just really, but I've been stabbed, I've been hurt, I've had, you know, things broken over me, thrown down stairs. You name it, it's happened to me, and I'm still alive. Why? Because of all the conditioning I did through my martial art training. I have always done heavy body and, you know, strength conditioning that most other systems sometimes don't teach anymore. And I say, my students say, you didn't win all those fights? And I said, no, that's a bunch of hooey. You're going to get, there's always somebody bigger, meaner, stronger, faster than you. But I didn't get horribly injured because of my training.
You survived.
I survived.
Sometimes winning, and the key ingredient many people don't understand, sometimes winning is just surviving.
Yes.
And as a person who has gone through that and been stabbed and slashed and shot at and etc., and done all the above, and as experiences go, they all stunk. But I'm still alive to talk about them, and that's the important key. Now, my final question for today. Well, actually, we have one more question real quick. We've got a couple of moments left. We talked about things you love, and you love the Chinese martial arts, and we talked about a little bit about the Southern Systems. The other thing that you love is tattoos. Talk to me about your love for tattoos.
Well, again, you know, I was bored as a young man, so, you know, what did I do? I drew on myself. And of course, some people don't agree, but it's like, hey, look, we're all adults. It's your body. It's your choice. Now, I don't have Superman. I don't have Mickey Mouse. I don't have the Fighting Irish Guy or the Superman logo on me. What I have are tattoos that all were designed by me that mean things to me. Now, the one you see here, this is called the Duilan. This is from the Juklum system. This is actually the motto of the system.
Right, which is actually put on placard boards in front of the altar.
This, when you put this on your body, you're pretty serious about the system in question. So people say, why'd you do that? I go, because I live, eat, breathe, sleep, and do this. Okay. It is not something, you know, why am I going to mark myself up with something that tells me something or means something if it didn't again, resonate with you to a degree.
Now, as I read it, again, I'm not completely fluent, but again, I see the classic Juklum bamboo forest, and then temple, and then I see the. Can you give me the whole translation?
Sure. Basically, the Juklum temple has the real internal training. So this is telling you the internal training. It's not just external. It's not just hard. There's other training that creates the ultimate, training. And then this one is the followers of Samdat. So Samdat's clan have the miraculous hands. Now, miraculous hands doesn't just mean, when you're looking in Chinese culture, this can mean both medicine and martial arts. In other words, miraculous hands meaning you do stuff that just looks like magic. Now, of course, it isn't. We know this, and we can talk about that and demonstrate it, that some movements look so simple and ineffective, but when you're actually having it performed on you, it is not. And, you get dumped on your rear end pretty easy. So Samdat was a little person, and he was basically knocking people down. So when he got famous and passed away, his students were like, he had miraculous hands. He also had an incredible level of medicine. He was a Buddhist who trained in Taoist temples in the south. He was from Shanxi in the north, and he went down to Longhuishuan in the southern, and he basically exchanged. Again, he exchanged. He said, I got Buddhist medicine, you got Taoist stuff. Let's see what we get. So a lot of people say that when he went to the Taoist mountain, he got softer in his mantis because he was learning Tai Chi and other, and other softer redirection arts, and he kind of merged it into his, last formation of what we call bamboo forest.
Excellent. Well, again, first of all, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come and talk to us.
Wonderful.
And also, we're going to be seeing some action-packed Kung Fu with Sifu, and we're going to be right back with more exciting action here on Martial Arts Today Television. Stay tuned. And we're back with more exciting action here on Martial Arts Today Television. Again, we've had a great interview with Sifu, Dale Dugas, and now we're going to talk a little and demonstrate some of the various Southern influenced Kung Fu systems from the Fujian and Haka region of China. Sifu, I'll turn it over to you.
And hello there. My name is Dale Dugas, and I'm originally from Massachusetts, but now I'm living in Tampa. Now, today we're going to be talking about mostly Haka systems. Now, of course, there's Hokkien and Fujian systems that I've only been exposed to minimally. I've had more exposure to Haka systems. Now, Haka systems, for those of you who don't know what that means, Haka were a group of people from northwest China that were driven down to the southeastern parts as well as around the world because they were persecuted for their culture and for, they were basically considered to be, a problem people. So the people in the northwest drove them out. And so the Haka language actually was developed in northwest China, but then developed along the way. They kind of put words and phrases in. So Haka is actually really hard to learn because it's a subset and a subdialect of Chinese. Now, Haka martial arts in design have few forms. You don't see hundreds of forms in their system. You see few forms, many, many drills. Footwork drills, conditioning drills, blocking drills, striking drills, testing your horse, testing your root drills, tension work. We do a lot of tension training to develop the body, as well as, Pai Da Gong, iron body, iron fist, iron fingers. Now, South Mantis is very famous for not only using the Phoenix Eye, which pretty much most people know as a one fist or a one knuckle fist, Ippon Ken or Shoken from Wei Chi. Because in Okinawan martial arts, anybody who knows Wei Chi, they know this fist. This is the fist that is used. Well, this fist is found throughout White Eyebrow, okay, as well as South Mantis. This is probably the most famous fist in South Mantis is that we use the Phoenix Eye. Now, Haka systems keep the elbows close to the body. We don't stretch the arms out. We keep the arms naturally close to the body, the elbows in, and the hands are like a beggar. Why? It looks open, but you're not open. It's easily shut down. The center line is shut down and then controlled through whatever you're going to do. This is one of the main tenets of Mantis, of South Mantis, to shut this center line down and then control the person through, application and control through this, direction of, structure. In other words, we're dealing with people from top to bottom, left and right. And so if you cross their limbs across their body, you eventually then shut them down. We like to do that. Why? The founder of Mantis, or South Mantis, was a very small person. His name was Samdat, and he was a Tibetan monk. he came down into China to study at various temples, and he was beaten up because he was this little guy. Well, he eventually developed a kung fu watching mantises and birds have fights where the mantises were winning. He then took those concepts, developed a system, and then created a whole branch or a whole system that has now 3 branches under it. So South Mantis, you see the bamboo forest mantis, you see the Chalgar, the Chugar, and you see the iron ox mantis. These are the 3 traditional or the 3 historical branches. Now, of course, under those, people have broken and done modern, adaptations and, have made up, hybrid systems based on multiple systems. It doesn't matter. It's all coming from the same source. It's coming from the Haka system. So again, few forms, lots of drills, lots of conditioning, and lots and lots and lots and lots, and I could go on forever, lots of 2-man, drill work where you're learning how to get out of the way, move your body, and deal with incoming force as well as learning how to deliver force to another person.
Excellent. Now, if you'd be kind enough to demonstrate one of the forms to our public and our viewers, and again, just to show them the diversity of it.
Sure.
It's very unique in its stuff.
Let me show you the first, what we call the Sambojin from Chugar. Now, Chugar is one of the branches of South Mantis, and their Sambojin, their 3-step arrow, is pretty much the one that's more physically, basic in concept, in design. But again, what you're seeing is not what's actually there. There's a lot of stuff happening inside. So, without further ado, that was Chugar Sambojin, 3-step arrow. And as you can see, we punch with a phoenix eye, we spear, we grab, we pull back. Notice what I didn't do. I didn't pull back. I struck out, pulled back. Struck. Mantis is famous for not pulling back when we move.
Excellent. Now, we also want to mention, again, a very prevalent salutation, which it was funny. I got a quick side story. I'm looking at Chuck Sullivan. I'm watching Karate Connection, and I'm watching their opening, and I'm going, oh, okay, whatever. And I go, whatever, what are you talking about, whatever? And I was like, you're doing, this is white eyebrow, and this is your symbol. You didn't get that from white eyebrow. And they said they had it, which really surprised me. Again, we know this, many people who are familiar of, again, the standing fist. And again, yet another influence we look at from Southern styles, like Wing Chun with the Yat Kun, the standing fist, the straight blast, regardless of what orientation, and of course the prayer hand above it as opposed to covering it. Now again, that's one of that is, matter of fact, a fast story. Jackie Chan's on a national television program in Hong Kong, and they ask him to do a form, and he does that form.
Yeah.
And he's a great lover of Southern systems, specifically Southern Mantis and Wing Chun, etc. Now, we also talked about Bak Mei.
Yes.
And you've also studied Bak Mei as well.
I've been exposed to Bak Mei, have been studying with some senior students under various teachers. Bak Mei is an interesting system. Again, it's a Haka system. So when you see Bak Mei forms, you see similar. So you're spearing, punching, redirecting. This is called Buji, Jik, Chok. Chok is this turning over. In Wing Chun, they call it Tansa, dispersing it. Well, in Mantis and in White Eyebrow, we call this Chok. This is Chok Choi, Choi meaning a fist, an attack. If you do it with an open hand, we say Chok Shu. Or some people would say Chok Sao, like Tan Sao. Sao just means hand. Sao, Shu, Su.
Sure, yeah.
It's just the different dialect of Chinese, whether it's Guando, Cantonese, Mandarin, Hakka, Taiwan. There's so many different dialects. Don't worry, don't get hooked up in the words. It means hand, dispersing hand. Now in Mantis, you're going to be seeing a lot of what we call morsao, which is called grinding hand. Okay? And again, this is the Karate Kid. This is the wax on, wax off that everybody sees. And I can go outside in, and I can go inside to out. This is the first hand. This is the mother hand. Okay? All other hands come from this hand. So this is the most yin, this is the most earth, this is the most spleen. Whereas the stance, this is the father, this is the yang, this is the not the earth, but this is the sun. Okay? This is the power. Overt power. This, secret power, hidden power. Because it doesn't look powerful. But I could actually, if you're coming in on me, I could actually pick you up and throw you across the room with this concept. Don't think of it as a technique. It's a concept. Okay?
Let's take one particular hand strike, which again, I've talked to other people about. It's not very popular outside of this particular orientation. And that's when you did the ginger fist. Can we talk about that particular indigenous
Sure.
hand strike?
Now, everybody knows the phoenix eye. You know, you pull in the ring, or I'm sorry, pinky first, ring finger, middle finger. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my index finger and pull it into that second part of my middle finger. Then I'm going to put my thumb right in that part, and I'm going to support the thumb in this triangle shape poking out. This is the phoenix eye. Now the inverse is what?
Ginger fist, yes.
Is the ginger fist, which what Sifu Rebelo was talking about. And what I'm going to do now is instead of coming from the pinky side, I'm going to grab my index finger, my middle finger, my ring finger. I'm putting my thumb against my index finger, and all these fingers are pressing together. Now it looks like a big misshapen lumpy piece of ginger. Okay? Now I can hit with the palm heel. I can hit with the hammer fist. But I also got this nasty looking bunch of fingers that can be used to poke, rake, scrape. Now I'm an ex-EMT. All my EMT friends are going to go, oh, that's just a sternal rub. Yeah, it is. But instead of doing it on the sternum, we're going to do it wherever we want. Okay? And a lot of people, they favor a swinging motion. They'll come in and cut you across the face or the throat or the eyes. And then when they come in, they can go back out with the same hand. Hitting on the inside, outside, under, it doesn't matter. We can swing this around in any geometric shape we want using the ginger fist.
Excellent. Again, Sifu, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
I hope that you've gotten something. I know I get something every class I do, and every episode, the show that we do here on Martial Arts Today television. Until next time, keep training,